I really wake up every day and just, I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to be faithful that I know I was created to do something amazing. And I'm going to put work in every day to do that. There's something I do every day for me, for my journey, for my brand Stratechic, for my book Success, about the marketplace and how they don't treat Black people fairly. They expect us to be what they are in order to be successful. I do something towards that every day.
You're listening to She's Got Drive podcast, the podcast that inspires women to be a driver in their own life through the life and stories of Black women with drive. And I'm your host, Shirley McAlpine. I'm a business consultant, an executive coach, and a leadership facilitator, working with people and organizations to live their lives by design and not default. Welcome back to another episode of She's Got Drive. Welcome back. And in this episode, we have a wonderful interview. I'm really excited about sharing my guest with you today because she's someone that I came across really a long time ago, and I've just always wanted to interview her, and I finally reached out to her and she said yes. And so I'm excited about that. So we were able to sit down together at the beginning of last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? Have a really, really lovely conversation. So I'm excited about that. And I really feel like in this time where it's so tough at the moment to, you know, I'm so pleased that I'm able to bring to you on the podcast women who are inspiring, women who are finding their way in life, women who are living their purpose, who are courageously creating their life, and women who are committed to leaving a legacy and contribute to others. And just like that, I just feel as the many things that I could be doing at this time, and I am doing at this time, I feel proud that this is one of the things that I'm doing, and I'm able to bring these amazing women to you. And I feel so grateful for the women that I reach out to say yes. And I just love that about them all. So beyond that, and before we come back to Michele, I really have no words this week. I was trying to think of what I wanted to share about this week. I just don't have any words. The protests are continuing. The movement is mounting. And whilst I get clarity about what I'm doing and how I can contribute in this moment, there's also lots of like realizations and pain and as well. So I wanted to read to you and share with you one of the places that I go when I need to lean somewhere so I can get help to myself. You know, I am a staunch supporter of Dr. Maya Angelou, who I discovered when I think I was 17 or 18 years old. That was a long time ago. If you're trying to do the math, it was a very long time ago. And I go back to her often as my guide, and when I need to feel empowered as well. And so I wanted to read out "And Still I Rise." And it was the title of last week's episode that I reposted because it's the poem that Dr. Nicola Rollack goes to herself when she needs to regroup and resource herself. And so I wanted to read it out loud. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh. Like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. So Michele Ghee is a proven executive that has worked for some of the most powerful media companies in the world. She currently serves as the managing partner for Stratechic Alliance. A small part of her legacy is her tenure at BET as SVP of Media Sales for BET, which was which was formerly Centric TV. She was instrumental in rebranding Centric as the first network designed for Black women, and then again into BET Her. Michele has been honored numerous times and continues to give back to her community in numerous ways. She's the author of 3 books: Stratechic, Life and Career Winning Strategies for Women; Stratechic 2.0, Her Plan, Her Power, Her Purpose; and Success on Your Terms. After losing her dad to cancer in 1997, Michele decided to go back to school and receive her Bachelor of Arts from Golden Gate University at the age of 30. And in May 2017, she was honored with an Honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters from her alma mater. I give you Michele Ghee. Michele, thank you so much for being willing to be a guest on She's Got Drive.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor, and I hope I'm on here because I'm a woman who has drive.
Oh, totally. Listen, absolutely. And when we start to talk about what you've done and what you've accomplished, you're clearly a woman with drive. The exploration is, what is that drive and what motivates that drive, and how did you develop it? You know, I'm always interested in our backgrounds and our family backgrounds and the messages that we got when we were in our early years as well, that feeds that drive, as well as the various experiences that we have. So I'm excited for us to kind of get started on you sharing. Let's start then with you sharing with our listeners, what is it that you do now, and then share a bit about what you've done before, and then let's take it from there.
I have been blessed at this moment in time to actually not do anything. And there hasn't really been, since I've been 12 years old, to have this moment. And in that, doing nothing time, I'm saying it's nothing, but I'm not tied to any specific thing. So I have been able to think and not be in isolation, but in seclusion. And the difference is, isolation is what you're forced into because of how you feel, and it's not a good place. But seclusion is a place that you can self-invoke, that you can allow God to be present, that you can think and figure out what's next. And so that's what I'm doing. And there are so many things on my chalkboard that I'm working on, that the world will see, that I'm really excited about. And I think everybody who's going through this moment should understand that this is so bad, but it's also such a blessing.
Right.
And that we know that God has the final say. So I'm really thinking, I'm writing my 4th book. I started my chalkboard transformation. I've had some amazing conversations with some amazing companies about Black women and about our power and our ability to come in and change organizations. So it's been all good. And you'll see some things coming out from me shortly hereafter.
That's exciting. Were you going to take this pause anyway, or is this seizing the opportunity of the pause?
You're such a good question. I had prayed for this pause, and I had put it into the universe. And we know that words have so much power. And I'd say, man, I really want an opportunity to do this. I really need some time. And so this opportunity came about, and I welcomed it to think about, what do I want to do with my business? How do I want to help others? How do I want to be more creative? Let me stand as an entrepreneur for at least 5 minutes, right? So I believe that I put it into the universe and I asked for it and I prayed for, God to make it happen in a way that I could still sustain myself, feel good about myself, help my friends and family, and still take care of my family financially. And that's exactly what God has done. So I'm so grateful
That's
for this
perfect.
moment.
In terms of what there was to do, if you like,
Yeah.
in that time, were you clear in the beginning, as that break
Yeah.
arrived, or was it that you sitting with it and sensing into it and then seeing what emerged as what needs your attention?
And so I'll just reframe that question. Like there are things that happen in life that, we have to pivot. And whether that
Yeah,
is a self-inflicted pivot or whether that is a pivot that we weren't aware of, it doesn't really matter. The pivot is the pivot. And you have to be prepared and not walk in fear, right? Because as soon as something happens, or even if you wanted to do it, fear has this thing that it just wants to invade your personal space. And
exactly.
so I have a mantra that, fear can't live where faith resides. So I really wake up every day and just, I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to be faithful that I know I was created to do something amazing. And I'm going to put work in every day to do that. So like there's something I do every day for me, for my journey, for my brand Stratechic, for my book Success, for the
Right.
next book that I'm writing about the marketplace and how they don't treat, Black women or Black people fairly. They expect us to, be what they are in order to be successful. So I do something towards that every day. And I just enrolled into this amazing class at Cornell. It's a diversity and inclusion class. And I don't want to be a diversity and inclusion, executive per se. I mean, if that came along, I would look at it, but that's not why I took it. I wanted to be able to back up my notion, my experience with academia,
Yes.
because then it's undeniable, right? A
Right.
lot of times we have to prove ourselves not through the experiences we've been through, but because of the credentials we carry, which is
Right.
unfortunate. But look, if you don't play, then you can't win. And until
Exactly.
you're there, you can't change the rules. So I got to get into the room first before that I can say, that's ridiculous, right?
That's
So
right. That's
yeah,
right.
so so it doesn't really matter. The pivot is the pivot, and be prepared and do something every day once you're in it.
Yeah. What you've just said really speaks to one of the key notions to success in any space that you're in, is to understand what the
Yeah.
rules of the game are. Because when
Yo,
you don't
yeah.
understand the rules of the game, and some of what as Black women we miss out on, or some of the things that I'm working with my clients when it is, do you understand the rules of the game of the system that you're in? And let's figure out,
Yeah.
let's look at that.
Yeah.
And then once you're clear about that, then it's like, now the question is, do you want to play that game? And if you want to play that game, then let's play. Then
Yep.
how do you do that? How do you do that? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's been the work that you were doing before this moment? How have you got to this
Yeah.
place, of the place of the pause for you?
Most people know if they
Yeah.
Googled me or heard my story.
Sure.
I'm a little girl from Oakland, California, and I grew up there. And I started working in my dad's, I didn't write this, but I started working in my dad's restaurant when I was 12 years old. And it was like a little community spot. And what that taught me was, one, a customer service, which is critically important if you want to be successful, because you have to know how to read a situation, give to people. And if you can please your customer for any business, then you can be successful. But it also taught me the sense of community, because so many people would gather at my father's place because it was a safe haven. It was a place that you could express and be yourself. And he had so many different politicians and rappers and community. Like it was like a really amazing family of people in the city of
Uh-huh.
Oakland. And I worked that whole time. And then I got into, then I didn't graduate till I was 31 from school for a bunch of different reasons. You have to read the book to hear about those. And once I graduated from school, after that, my dad passed away, and I made a promise to him that I, make him proud of me. And of course, that's all relative, and I have to create what that proud journey looks like. I've always been a people person, and I was working for a telecom company, and I ran to the CFO, and he's like, "Yo, you're like, why are you in taxation? You need to be in sales because your personality or this." And so then I got into sales, and then I got into the cable business through this program called the Walter Cates Foundation. I wanted to be in the cable business because I didn't like the way that my family, my people, my community were portrayed on television.
Okay.
And so I said, if I can get into the business, then maybe I can change the outcome And at the time I was like, I'm gonna own a television network. Now I was like, I don't really want to do that because that's too much work.
It is a lot
Uh,
of work, yes.
it is a lot of work, right? So then, but I've had an opportunity, and so while I was at BET, I had an amazing opportunity to create a legacy for myself and for Black women by being the architect of BET Her. So I had the notion we could change Centric TV, which really didn't have an identity or a brand affiliation in a really fragmented television marketplace, because now there are 200 plus channels that you could choose from.
Right.
And Centric was just kind of like, it's just wavering. And so created BET Her for Black men and Black women. I'm really proud of that contribution that I made to this community. And then I said, to round out that experience, I went over to the Endeavor family, which owned William Morris Agency and they own Fashion Week, and they produce all these amazing events. That I worked for the agency that sat within that. So now I have a full experience. So now when I go to clients, I know how to create the content, how to monetize the content, but I also know how to serve that up to clients because now I work for a creative agency. So it really rounded out my experience as an executive. And hence now I'm sitting here and, building and plotting in my little cave, my little office up here about what's next.
It's so powerful to know that you've left something that is so long lasting, that people are benefiting from every single day, and that is needed, because we don't have enough things that are really focused on us in broad media. It's just we still are starved of representation and real thought about what we need and who we need to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So help me understand then, if you mentioned about these early days and you're working in your dad's restaurant, what were some of those key messages around success that you grew up with from your parents or from teachers that have stayed with you, that you think that has facilitated where you are?
You know what, to me, I mean, I think the biggest learning, because like my mom was this amazing organizer. I think I got the best of both worlds. My mom was this bookkeeper. She was like this numbers person. I'm really strong at math and numbers. And my dad was this free spirit salesperson. So, like the combination of the two, I think is what I possess. But what I learned and why I wrote this third book, Success on Your Terms, is that no one gets to determine what success looks like for you. And if you Google the word success, almost 3 million versions of that word. Like it's so relative. And so my dad wasn't financially rich, but he was a success because he was happy, because he changed people's lives. So he wrote his own script. And so what I tell anybody who hears that, do not allow the world in this time that we live in with social media and the pressures of being fly and cool and this and that and connected, like none of that matters if you're not setting the goals that you want for your life at that given time and then achieving those, and that's a success. The last thing I'll say about it is I had this notion that success was when I reached a certain title or position, but now I'm learning to actually celebrate each and every success. So my son and daughter both graduated on the honor roll, right? That is a success to me because I'm a working mom and I'm busy, and my husband's busy. He works for Bank of America and he's in the military. He's a JAG officer. So we're both really busy, but our kids are dope. Like they're amazing, and they both just wrote emails to their school about what are we doing about what's happening to Black men and Black people in our community. Like what is our school doing? How are we making sure our students are safe and educated? Like I love that. So like I may not have a job right now, but I'm such a success. Like I'm so amazing. I'm so shining in God's vision for my life. And so I really, really want people to understand, like other people don't get to determine what success looks like for you.
Right. The notions of success in the early days is the definitions that are given about what success is. And that's through your own kind of life experience and your own self-discovery about, in those moments, what really matters, or when do I really experience being successful? And it isn't necessarily when I've got a particular title on my door. It's in those moments. I think it's
absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about being a working mom.
Oh yeah. Let me sit back. I need a glass of wine.
Nah.
This was too early. We should have did this at 7 p.m.
What is it that you put down to your children being so grounded. And so, because as you said, you travel, you know, you move a lot, you're busy, your husband as well, and his demands of his job and his work. And when you say in the military, I wasn't clear. Is that a volunteer role? Is that a...
No, yeah. So he's in the Army Reserves, and he's an
Okay.
attorney. He's an
Okay.
attorney for the Army, so it's considered
Okay.
a JAG officer, but he's in the reserves. So he's a major, lieutenant. I don't know, one of those
Wow.
in the Army
Okay.
Reserve.
So
Yeah,
big demands on both from both you and your
yeah,
work. And
yeah,
so what is it that in terms of how you've mothered and how you parent that you think has
yeah.
got you to where you are with your children so far?
You know, whenever I'm talking to moms, and it is the number one question is like, how do you do it all? And the first thing I say is, I don't do it all. I don't do it
Mm-mm.
all, and I don't do it all by myself, and I don't do it all right. But what I do is I don't feel guilty. And I know that I can't be everywhere. So what we do is we communicate. It's like, listen, mom wants to do this, and these are the sacrifices that will be made by all of us. And is everyone good? And then once everyone self agrees, right, raises
Mm-hmm.
their hand and says, you know, mom, I want you to do that. I think that that's a great. Then they feel better about the sacrifices made along the journey.
Right.
A lot of times we don't even communicate. We don't want to communicate because we feel guilty that if we do that, our kids are losing something. But what moms and families don't realize is that when you communicate, that a lot of times they're on board. They just want to be part of the process that you're going through
Right.
to reach what you're trying to get. And it's been a really effective tool. So before I wrote the book, I said, listen, I'm probably going to be gone 4 days a week or 5 days a week because I'm going to be speaking, I'm going to be doing this. They're like, yo, and then, you know, and I was like, listen, but I'll be at every event. So I
Mm-hmm.
contact their schools ahead of time, like September 1. I was like, hey there, I know that all the assistants at the school, I was like, I need the calendar for the year so I can put all important dates on my calendar, including sporting events. So then I can tell my team not to schedule anything on that day. It
Right.
really is the little things that matter and
Right.
showing up for the little things that matter. And then some of the other things that you don't have to, you don't have to be everywhere. And then it's teamwork. Like we have an amazing babysitter. You know, my husband is an amazing dad. Like he is all up in the mix.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm joking. But yeah, so it's really, really teamwork. And listen, if you're a single mom, then you got to find a community of people
Exactly.
around you that can help you get to where you want to be. Because, you know, if you don't have the right friends and you're not getting help, then you need to eliminate them and find the ones that are going to help you, you know, get to who you need to be, especially if you have a family. And then it's all a village. It really, really is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know, as you can hear, I'm not from the States, but
Yeah.
when we moved here is when I truly understood how much of I left my village behind. And I had like
Yeah.
a couple of friends in the city, and it made my life as a mother so much harder because I didn't have that network
Hmm.
of that my family and my friends who I could just call on. And then you have to create a new village basically, otherwise it becomes
Yeah. And that's a whole
unworkable.
nother podcast. That's a whole
It
nother
really is.
how to weed through people and make them part of your village. Like you
Yeah.
can have peripheral friends, but to become
Yes.
part of your village is a whole, application process, okay?
Yeah.
Prayer process. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I've got some stories. The early days where like, oh my God, they're crazy. And then they're my
Yeah,
children.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And not for lack of offers, just what would you leave your child with them is the question. When you said you don't feel guilty, what point was it always like that? Or was there like a time where you just came to a point and you said, I can't carry a guilt around this, and there was some real
Yeah.
insight and realization.
Well, I think it's choices, right? So it's like we want to live this lifestyle and we want to go to this school and we want this after school activity. So that means that mom and dad have to do this. Now, as soon as you no longer want those things, then no problem. We can change our lifestyle. Like I have no problem with that. I came from a 2-bedroom apartment in Oakland, California. Look, I did never live like this, okay?
Right.
And I'm not telling God I don't want to live like this because I
I
do,
hear
but I'm
you.
just
Yes.
saying, like, I'm prepared for whatever. And so, like I said, it just goes back to, and once I realized to bring them part of the process because I was carrying a burden that I didn't even have to carry
Mm-hmm.
because I'm asking myself, I'm negotiating against myself. I'm
Yes.
negotiating against how I feel instead of seeing how they feel.
Right.
And so they're like, no, mom, we didn't even care about that. No, mom, we don't care about that, but we do care about that. So it's
Right.
all about communication. So guilt is the enemy of isolating yourself from finding out what reality looks like.
Mhm.
And once I
Mhm.
found out what reality was for my family, now I don't have to be guilty because I know what the rules are.
Right.
And a lot of times we don't play by we play by the rules we set up for what we think motherhood looks like, what we think motherhood looks like because we're seeing other families or other people. And so I'm not comparing myself to anything but how my children care about, my flow, my walk, my
Mhm.
destiny.
Mhm.
And so I don't have to
Mhm.
carry guilt anymore.
Right. And then looking at others, the other thing, the comparison junkies also, if you fall down that hole,
Yeah, don't go
yeah,
down that
don't go,
rabbit hole.
really
Comparing from
don't,
yeah, mm-mm.
don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the devil's waiting down there.
that's the challenge of also with social media and the images of perfection, like if we look at Instagram, for example, it's just like there's so many images of perfection, and whereas it used to start off with the odd selfie where you could be doing anything, and then suddenly it became
Right.
everyone's creating a magazine of their life, and it's like it's not
Yeah,
really like
now,
that. It's not
no.
really like that, and so it feels a bit. That's a big rabbit.
Manufactured.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
manufactured. It does what it does, and then but to understand what it really is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you think about your own drive, when you started it up, what lies
Yeah.
behind your drive? What's the
Well,
motivator?
this is, and I think about this often because are you born with drive or is drive attained throughout your journey, right?
Mm, hmm.
And I believe that anybody can get drive, and there are different drivers in your life. You either let them drive you out of the game or let you drive them to the top of the game,
Right.
right? So I realized in this probably in the last couple of years in self-reflection, part of that drive came from people thought I looked a certain way, so I couldn't be talented and smart. That I got what I got because of how I presented myself.
Hmm.
And what people didn't realize is that a lot of times people didn't give me the opportunity because they thought I was only something and not
Right.
smart.
Right.
So like there's both of these sides convening on their perception of me and not even having one conversation.
Right.
So I've been driven to prove,
Hmm.
past in the days, now I don't really care, but I was driven to prove people wrong.
Mm,
Right. So that was my driver. Like, you're wrong. Like, oh, I'm talented. Oh, I'm not going to get an A in this math class. Keep watching.
right.
So I've always been driven by competition and people's perception of me that was wrong.
Right.
Right. Like I could hear the chatter. And now I don't care. Now I'm driven because at the end of my life, I don't want to make it to the kingdom of heaven. And I stand before God and I see all these gifts and he's like, those are the ones you didn't open. So I want to open up
Right.
every single gift that he has for me. I want to change every single life that I can. I want to keep a promise to my dad. So now there are different drivers. And so what I would tell your audience is that don't let something happen and not say, did that happen for a reason? Is that a reminder that I'm not doing enough? That I can be more, do more, like use it.
Hmm.
Is that the small voice of God giving me a little push?
Right.
We just all watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. And was it true? Was it not true? I don't even really care if it was true or not. It was motivation for me and my family. Like, yo, this man was driven. Like,
Yeah.
nobody can take that away, that he wanted to be the best. He put the work in it. He had an attitude and a walk. You couldn't talk smack to him.
Right.
We
Right.
had everybody watch. I was like, yo, you see this right here? That's what hard work does. That's what wanting to be the best does. That's what preparing your life for this does, carrying yourself a certain way. So yeah, there are just different drivers, and you have to make a personal decision that, what, I think that little nudge was for me, you know?
Mm, mm. And then do you see the nudge as it's happening? Or do you
I
really
mean,
have
I
to, or have
do.
you had experiences where you really had
Yeah,
to
it's
be
a
hit
good
upside your
question.
head before you,
Yeah, that's a
before
good question.
you,
That's why, a lot of people don't even know themselves, right? And I
right?
did this chalk on board transformation the two episodes back, and it was like, know thyself, get to know yourself.
Mm-hmm,
We are in
absolutely.
a time that we are in our homes. Most of us can't go places, and we don't even want to look at ourselves in the mirror because we don't like what we see. And I'm not talking from a physical manifestation. I'm talking about if you really look at yourself, do you like what you see? And I can say this explicitly because I was one of those people. I didn't like
Right.
what I saw. I didn't like, I wasn't working out enough. I wasn't praying enough. I was like the 3-minute prayer warrior. I stop in the morning, run out the house, like, this is not my life. This is not my
Yeah.
honor to God. This is not right. So I didn't like myself. So first of all, you got to know
Mm-hmm.
thyself in order to know what triggers you have, in order to know when God is speaking to you, in order
Right.
to know what people are around you that are good for you and not. So you have to take this moment in time. If nothing else, like, you don't think that like my God is power enough to end all of this. There is a reason he's not,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So use this opportunity to really, really dig in. And once you know yourself, then you know, oh, that little ding, oh, that was to drive me. Oh, that was to
Right.
give me a reminder I'm not doing enough. I'm
Right.
not saying enough. I'm not walking in my destiny. Because then you'll know. Because it's not an easy part. Like I can't, it's not easy. I'm 50,
No.
I'll be 54. I like it took time in order for me to know that. But now that I know that, I'm telling all my sisters, young and old, take the time to know when it's time for that drive.
Yeah. To listen. I think you have to, I think the thing about slowing down is allowing you to listen. If you don't fill up the time with just stuff, it's like
Oh yeah, don't we
there's
love to
lots
do
of
that?
distractions that are possible when you're
Yeah,
at home. But like if you're allowing yourself to really, really ask the question and then answer those questions for yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, when I decided to write my book and I was really busy and I was on planes all the time. I was at BET and I was heading up sales for BET Her and I had a team across the nation and I was like really, really busy, right? And I took an hour back a day from social media, like because I like to look at the blogs
Mm,
and see what's going on. It was like it was like, like we convince ourselves that's a reward for a hard work day.
right.
And what I found out is once I wrote my first book, wow, that was such a much better reward than following someone else's life that I didn't even really like, honor, or respect. And so now I wrote this book and people are following
It
me, right? Like
is
it's
so true.
true.
Yeah.
It yeah. So I took an hour back from all that foolishness and I wrote my first book in 6 months.
Listen, just you saying that, because I've been talking about my book for, I want to say, well, I even wrote my
Outline.
outline, but I think it was,
Hmm.
in truth, I wanted, it happened in 2018. I was going to write my book, and then my mum passed away, so then I just
Yep.
was dealing with that, and but then the story that comes back is I don't have time to write a book, and when you share that, it's just like, that's not true.
Sis, let me tell you,
I
that's
could
not
totally
true.
grab an hour back. I could totally grab an hour back a
Think
day.
about it, 1 hour,
I could totally grab
one
an hour
hour a
back.
day.
I could just be,
Okay?
I could be like 5 till 6 in the morning. I write a book, right? I'd start work on my book.
Shirley, let me tell you
You
something. You
just,
better get it done. I don't want to talk to you again and you haven't written that book.
she'd be like,
Okay?
I'm
Yeah,
just
the
like,
strategic, you don't want to
damn.
meet the strategic. She hardcore. You talking to Michelle right now. When I turned into strategic, I got all kind of questions. I'm like, yo, what you mean? I will peel your day back. I was like, oh, that was 30 minutes wasted. Oh,
That's
that was 20
right.
minutes wasted.
That's right. Well, I am recognizing that I've managed to do a number of things in this time, and seeing how much time in my traveling, I traveled a lot, I was away at least every other week, and how
Hmm.
much time in airports, on the way to the airport, on the way back from the airport, getting stuck in traffic, all of that stuff is hours that
Yeah.
is now
And now they have things you
available.
can just dictate your story and it sends you an email or it puts it in a file for you to, you can just, my third book, I just talked in the car. I
You
was like, oh yeah,
did
this point,
not.
this point. Yeah, absolutely. And it dictates for you. It just sends you an email. It's like, do you want to send this email? Sure do. Thank you. And then you just correct it because there's
Yeah,
going to be some typos or
of
whatever.
course. But that's a
Oh yeah,
whole,
there are no excuses.
oh, listen,
None.
that's just opened up a whole, wow, I could dictate it. I could dictate it.
Yes.
I'm so old school, man. I don't even use Siri on my phone. So I need to get with the program. I need to get with the program. You know what? You have inspired me. And now everyone, not only you, I've just told everyone else that I'm going to start working on it, you know, because it's there.
Yes,
I know what
ma'am.
the work is. I know what the work is. I wanted to ask you, what's been the biggest challenge that you've faced in your
Yeah.
life?
And I just realized this. And you know, it's like it's humbling to know that like God is not done, you know, even all the things you've accomplished and all the honors. And so my biggest challenge is that people would hire me because I'm different, because I'm a unicorn, because of my experience, because I'm the only Black woman or one of the few Black women who actually understands television sales and the math and monetization behind it, you know, because of my Rolodex. And then as soon as you get in the company, they're like, oh, that you're amazing and you're so different. And we hired you because you're one of the highest ranking Black women. Now go understand the culture and fit in.
Yes.
Okay, so then that means what I have to do is I have to leave all of my Blackness, all of my unique experience someplace because you want me to fit into a culture just like everyone else when there's
Right.
really no one else here like me,
Right.
which is the most, and people don't even realize they're doing it.
Yeah.
And so my fourth book is about this entire notion of that, and how it just diminishes your ability to get the most out of an employee, and then they become unengaged,
Yeah.
and then they're not as valuable as they could be.
Right.
And so I'm not going to just talk about that, but I have ideas about how to change that,
Right.
how to bring people like me into an organization and allow me to thrive, to build your profitability up in which you had me to do. So I'm really excited about it because it's a really big question, and I hear it all the time because as soon as I get in a company, all of the Black employees, all the women are like, oh my God, help me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they'll come whisper to me. And it shouldn't be a whisper, it should be a demand on the marketplace. Stop it.
Right.
Stop doing that. Don't hire me and ask me to be different. That's just ridiculous.
Right.
So you stop doing the same thing and expect a new result.
This is exactly one of the things that I deal with when I'm coaching senior women of color, because it then drives them so crazy because
Crazy.
every day they're trying to bring their best self to work, to do the work that they were engaged to do, and then they're
Yep.
getting the feedback that, can you not be so fill in the blank?
Yep.
And they're like,
Yep.
but that's me, and I don't know how to be something else. And when I'm trying to be something else, I'm not being true. Then I'm focused on that, then I'm not focused on, and can you not show up so large, or can you just take it down a notch? That feedback like that, which is insane, because as you said, that's what got them in the door in the first place. And then it's
Yeah.
becomes this battle, and then sometimes by the time that I'm working with them, the confidence has started to wane, and they begin to say, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't
Yeah,
understand
for
who I
sure.
am. And then it's like it's about to kind of return themselves. I call them return themselves to themselves, where they can just rediscover who they are and get the confidence back, and then make decisions about, like, how do I do this, if they still choose to
Yeah.
do it, you know?
Yep.
And that's so it's exciting. It's exciting. Do you mind me asking you about your dad and the moment when, because you share
Yeah.
about him passing away,
Yeah.
and the decision, that promise that you made, because it seems to be such a pivotal moment for you, is what I'm assuming. And I'm saying that, I mean, I had an experience when my dad passed away, and I'm
Yeah.
resonating. I'm resonating.
Yeah.
And do you mind sharing that promise, which has been one of the motivators and drivers for you?
I'll never forget the moment I was at home and I lived with my dad at the time, and my mom had moved back to Montreal because her parents had passed away. And so my dad came in, he's like, oh, yeah, I went to the doctor today. And, you know, they said I have leukemia. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound good. And I was young, like I didn't really understand what that meant. And then so, you know, there's this journey that he and I went through. And I want to say, I think my brother may have been in the military. No, I don't know. My brother didn't, he lived in Phoenix though, or something like that. So he wasn't there. So it was really just my dad and I. and we were kindred spirits. And so I went through this journey with him of, him getting healthy and, the doctors back and forth and this and that. And so, he really, what he taught me was, you never complain. You never make excuses. Like the lessons that this dude showed me in his dealing with, death. It was like, it truly has made me the woman I am today. I'll never forget. I would sleep at the hospital most night because what I noticed is that people that didn't have people there weren't treated the same.
Yeah.
They didn't get the same care. And so my dad was so crazy. He would take his little thing and he'd be walking up and down the hallways to make sure everyone else was treated okay. So he would go visit the other patients. I was like, if you don't go get it, but that's the type of person he was, right? And so I would spend the night on some nights, and then I was late to work a couple of days. He's like, I do not want you to be late to work because I don't want you to use this illness that I'm sick as a reason that you're not giving your best. This is your life. And you've been given such an opportunity. I remember my boss asked me, hey, Michelle, what's up? You've been late. It's just not like you. And I was like, well, my dad kind of made me make a promise, but he's really sick. He's in the hospital. She's like, what? She's like, of course. I was like, he doesn't even want me. Like, he wants me here at work, doing my best, giving my best. So because of those lessons, Shirley, that he taught me on his 4-year journey, and at the very end, he couldn't even talk. He was just laying there, and I was just like, you know what? You've taught me so much. I'm going to take your commitment to community, your commitment to other people, your selfless acts of giving to a community that is oftentimes overlooked. Like, I'm going to put that on steroids, and I'm going to make sure that I continue your legacy. And I believe he's super proud of what I have not accomplished for myself, but accomplished for my community. I still give back to the East Oakland Youth Development Center, a scholarship in his name every year for those people that have an entrepreneurial spirit. I give to the men, I give clothes, I give this, we have I because I'm so blessed, and to whom much is given, much is required. And I own that. So he's really proud of what I've been able to accomplish. And sis, I'm not done yet. Okay.
When you were sharing, I really could see every act he's present in every act.
Yeah, like for real. And it's not that my mom is my mom is an amazing, she's still living. She's an amazing person. She's just strong-willed. But it's like girls and dads, we just have this connection that I'm sure you understand. Because you had the unfortunate thing to lose your dad. And at the time my dad was 59. He was so young.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is young. That is so young.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a huge loss. It's a huge loss as well. Would you say that was one of your most courageous moments, that period, or is there some other time where you would say that some other time that was more courageous for you?
I think it took courage to, after he passed, and in his passing, you think, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. But it was also, because God decides when you will come and when you will go. But it also freed me to leave, because I wouldn't be the woman I am had he not passed away, and had I not moved to New York.
Okay.
So it was also an opportunity. So I think the courage came after he passed, to make decisions, to keep that promise, to work hard, to, take advantage of opportunities, and to give my best, right? So I think that was such a courageous act, because I didn't know anyone in New York when I moved. I just picked up and moved. I was like, okay,
wow.
Here I go.
What made you choose? What was it why New York? People ask me this all the time about why Chicago, so I'm always curious. Why New York? When people move.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in the wintertime, they're like, girl, you should.
Yeah, because I didn't know is the truth. I mean, let's just be real. I didn't know what I was doing in terms of the winter.
Exactly.
I didn't know.
Exactly.
People would say it's really cold. I'm like, listen, I'm from London. We know cold, but no, we don't. We don't know cold. We don't know Chicago cold.
Not that Chicago cold. Coming around Lake Michigan. Oh my gosh.
No.
So if you want to be in the advertising business, then you have to live in New York.
Okay.
It's just, if you want to learn it, if you want to be in the middle of it, you got to be on Madison Avenue and walk up and down that street. And so the Weather Channel, they said, you just have so much potential. We see so much potential in you. You need to move to New York to actually fulfill that for the company. And so they moved me to New York. And I hadn't planned on staying, but then met my husband.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still here, okay? With a whole with a whole closet full of coats because I can't stand the cold.
Because you're still a Californian at heart, really.
Yes, 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 girl, yes.
That's so good. Okay, so so then let's. So you said about your mum. What was the things that
Yeah,
your mum? I have a question about what mama used to say. Was there something
yeah,
that what your mama said? It could be your grandmother, it could be an old aunt, it could be someone in your older female
yeah,
elder in your life that sticks
yeah.
with you.
Yeah, I think so my aunt, my dad's sister, is a woman in her own right to be reckoned with. Her name is Dr. Shirley Thornton. Shirley, another Shirley. Dr. Shirley Thornton, and she has been an educator her entire life. She retired as a colonel in the forces, in the reserves, and she's still going. She just had her 80 something birthday, I think. But she is a force to be reckoned with, and I'll never forget it. I went to go see her speak, and I think that's when I got this bug about I'm going to be a speaker. And, I'm with the Washington Speakers Bureau, which
Right.
I love them. And she said, when I walk in the door, I'm a Black woman first, then I'm a woman. She said, and then they may want to get and take the time to understand that I have 2 PhDs, but we may not get to that. And it hit me so hard that, wow, like people can say whatever they want to say, but people with a hue to their skin is the first thing
Right.
that people see.
Right.
And there are certain judgments that take place because of experiences you've had. So you don't even take the time to get to know somebody, right? And it's this whole notion of unconscious bias. There's no way for you to be inclusive if you don't really take the time to get to know that individual for them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that notion of what my aunt said, and I was in my early 20s, I think it has never, ever, ever, ever left me.
Yeah.
Like I just, it was just such a powerful statement. And for her to say it back then, she was like, I don't even care. Y'all need to know. This is ridiculous. I said, you better go, auntie.
But it's so the truth, which is what we're in the midst of this heightened conversation right now in America,
Yes, ma'am.
right? With the unfortunate killing of George Floyd last week.
Floyd, yeah.
Well, let's just say the week started off with Amy in Central
It
Park, Amy
did.
Cooper in Central Park, and it brought to the foreground again, but it's always there, just
It's
exactly what you're
always
speaking
there.
about. What sense are you making of it right now, if you can make any sense of where we are?
You know, I the world is purging everything bad, I believe. Like the world needed a break. If you even look at the statistics, the ozone layers are closing, the
Exactly.
birds are chirping, the skies are blue, the emissions are down. Like the world was on the brink of like just collapse. And so what we are seeing, and I like this, I just really feel like this, right? So first is COVID, which I had COVID. Like
Oh,
had it the
wow.
beginning of March.
Wow.
And so my whole family, has tested for the antibodies. But, going through this whole process, I just had time to really, really think. And if you think about it, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's interesting to me that the people that are getting it for the most part are people that have some type of predisposition to an illness, right? People that are older, and then now we're seeing in babies is, forming some other, some type of manifestation some other way. But it's interesting to me that all of these people are dying that were putting pressure on the system. You know what I'm saying? So like I don't know what that means, but I'm just paying attention. I'm reading, I'm following it every morning. I get up not to the point of being crazy, but I just want to see how this is unfolding.
Right.
Like I get on my prayer call every morning. We're praying for those families that have lost people. People on our prayer call have lost people. Like this is just so crazy. But then to see like the locusts coming in Africa, and
I
then to see the
know.
wasps, the big black whatever hornet wasp are coming here, and then all of this unrest, Let me tell you,
Yeah.
TD Jack said it yesterday. He says, if you haven't ever picked up the Bible, it's the end of times. I mean, it just talks about that over and over again. There will be this unrest. And then you see that we're just like burning things down. I mean, it's really sad and it's really crazy. Because the last thing I want to say about it, I don't know if the reaction would have been the same had people not been locked up and wanting to get out and having
Right.
this pent
I
up
had that
frustration
thought.
and anger,
Yeah. I
right?
had that thought.
It's like
Yeah.
I've been locked up and I'm already mad about it because this is ridiculous. And I do believe like we've lost so many lives. We've lost so many lives. This was so blatant in Minneapolis that it is really just ridiculous. It's like it has to stop. It has to stop.
It really does. And it's the injustice on top of the injustice that's also
Absolutely.
that you
And is
can't
there even
trust
any
that there's this.
question?
Yeah, that's
Right.
the bit where we, if we think back to 4 or 5 years ago, it was like, well, if there was cameras then, but there's no shortage of video footage of any of this
Any
usually.
of it.
And then we
Yes.
view it, and I think the thing that we're seeing is social media is now becoming the law. When there's outrage, then there's action. And so that's now the message. When there's sufficient outrage, then we'll look again and we'll go, oh, we should arrest, or oh, we should charge, or oh, we
Yeah, you got
should.
to prove it to me, right? Like you have to prove it. And now
So
I will say this, what I do and who I am like really commending are the mayor of Atlanta and the mayor of Chicago. I
yes,
believe both black women,
yes,
right, have
absolutely.
really they step up to the
Swift,
plate. They're speaking their mind. They're
right?
swift. They're making a decision,
Right,
and I love them for that.
on both the COVID pandemic
And yep,
and these
and the
the
protesting, absolutely,
protesting. Both of them are really demonstrating what leadership looks like, and leadership,
absolutely.
the ability to lead in the crisis, the clarity, the focus, the no mess,
The
and then the
authenticity,
authenticity, the
yes,
fairness. I mean, I'm loving both of them,
me
and I'm
too. Like
loving that
truly.
truly, and I'm also loving the swift action over the last couple of
Hmm.
days as well, and yeah, and the difference for when you are in those hands as a community living in those spaces, you think she's got it. She's gonna,
Yeah.
like, I feel safe in this space in the knowledge that she's committed to a longer term transformation, that conversation and that work will get done and we'll be at work at it. Versus in the
Yeah.
past, you're like, when the protests are over, what's going to change? And I feel
Hmm.
like there's an opportunity certainly for change with someone like Laurie. I feel, yeah, we feel proud,
Very proud.
very proud of both of them. And also, I want to say a real demonstration of what's possible,
Hmm.
if when Black women lead. And
Yeah. A lot. I think this is, I think this is truly a testament to like, how Keisha has can I call the mayor of Atlanta? I'll call her Mayor Keisha.
yeah, right,
How she has just been a true leader in this. And for everybody, she's like, I'm calling the police out. Y'all wrong. You're fired. But how about you stop burning down my buildings? Like I just
yeah,
love how
yeah,
there's just such
yeah,
clarity
yeah,
around her message.
yeah. What she's calling what is. It's
Yes.
not. It's
Yep.
that's. I think with both of them. I think There's no spin. It's just like, this is what's happening. I hear you.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. This is what we're going to do. This is why we're going to do it. This is the basis
Yep.
on which I'm making my decisions. It's transparent, and you just know where you are. And that's what
Yeah.
people need. That's what we need. That it's called leadership, which is severely lacking in so many places. And we see the
Yeah.
impact of that. So I'm excited for the future in both states as a result of their leadership. But there's a big battle ahead too.
For sure. For
There's a big
sure.
battle ahead. What's your hopes for the future?
Yeah, like in any time that there has been any type of tragedy or, something that bad that has happened, we know that there's always a mountaintop.
Mm-hmm.
And this country, our people have such an opportunity to learn from this, to bind together, to grow, to understand that we have so many more commonalities than we have differences.
Mm-hmm.
And that the things that are happening, like COVID, the Black community has been affected in certain
Mm-hmm.
communities. But it really, to me, is not like it's just getting it's attacking different people and different things. So, like, we're all in this together. We're trying to fight a disease together. We're trying to, social distance together. So I really, truly pray. And I know that God will have the final say, but I hope people hear him talking.
Mm.
And I hope that they understand that, this is an opportunity for us to be better, to learn, to grow, to come out of this bigger, better, stronger. And that all the little problems that we had around, you did this and you did it, it doesn't even matter. A matter of fact, I made a joke to my friend. I was like, everybody's forgiven in the time of COVID. Everybody's, we gonna all start anew. I don't even, okay, that happened. Let's put that behind us.
Right. Right.
Because this has been so challenging. So that's my prayer for the world, is that we can really come out and be better for it,
Mm. And I've got one more question, which is I call it my Oprah question
Yeah.
for you. My Oprah question is, so if you look back at a younger Michele, maybe the 12-year-old who was running around the restaurant,
Yeah, right.
if that's what you were doing around the restaurant, I don't know if you ran around the restaurant, but what if you were working in the restaurant?
Yeah.
If there are three things that you wanted to tell the younger Michele, what would be those three things that you wanted to share with her?
Yeah, I don't know if there are three, but what I'll tell you is this. Someone just asked me to write a letter to a younger woman. And
Mm-hmm.
the letter went something like this. And I didn't know you were going to ask me this question, but the letter went something like this, is that I was, I was in a black car service with tinted windows, with my name in the front, because I was headed to the BET Awards, and I was dressed up and I was excited. And I pulled up and they called my name. They're like, oh, it's Michele Thornton Ghee here. And they're like, oh, let her up. I got there and they're like, you going to walk the carpet? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll walk the carpet. And I walked the red carpet. And I saw these celebrities and I did all this. And I got to the end of the carpet and I turned around and I was like, man, like, this is great, but like, it's not the end all be all, right?
Mm.
It kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like, my life is more than this.
Mm.
And I'm more than this to women. And I want more than just this moment. Like, it's a great moment,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the end all be all, if that makes any type of sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the red carpet in my life is giving and teaching and being available, and carrying myself with respect, because I know people are watching, and that's my red carpet. So
Right.
it doesn't have to be dressed up, and it doesn't have to be the cameras and lights and all of this. And it was such a moment for me, like, because when I got to the end, I was like, okay, that was good. Right. But there were so many amazing moments in my life that didn't have cameras, and that
Right.
didn't have things shining on them. So if I could tell anybody, I would tell them that don't just live for moments when people are watching and
Mm-hmm.
lights are shining and social media, because all those things will fade and go away. That you have to live your life of purpose and of destiny and giving, because then what will be bestowed upon you, you can't even imagine, what is in store for you. So I would tell that, because we live in a society now where we're telling our whole entire life on social media. And a lot of times those moments are used against us, to not hire us, to
Mm-hmm.
not promote us, to not, want to mention us because we've done something or someone said something or we're tied to a friend. Like, they're using these moments as our resume,
Right.
to not give us. So I would say, in the time that we live now, you got to be really careful about what you honor and what you post and who your friends are. And you think that, it's not being recorded when everything is. I would say, understand that when the system can use something against you still today, that's going to happen. So
Right.
tread carefully and pay
Right.
attention.
Right. Yes. I think the most important things aren't on camera. In fact,
Of
in where they're
course
really not.
not.
They're really not.
And
They're really
that's
not.
my whole point about that. I was like, man, like, this was great, but man, I've had some great moments in my life, like that feeling of helping a woman and, to have a breakthrough and say, sis, I wrote my book because I spoke to you, or sis, I ended that relationship because of,
Right.
like, that feeling was so much greater than walking with the greatest stars in the world. Like that to me is my, form of success.
Yeah. Yeah. The you get to really make such a difference that it literally changes someone's life.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Like to me, that's my
Yeah.
shining moment. That's
Yeah.
my camera. That's my light. That's
That's your
my
red
red carpet.
carpet. That's your red
That's my
carpet.
glitter. Right.
Right.
That's my
Right.
glitter. Yeah.
Right. This has been such a wonderful conversation. Thank you so
Oh
much.
man, I'm so glad I took time to do this. When the Washington Speaker Bureau sends me a little note, then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do that one because
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah,
Because I
I'm so
reached
glad you
out.
reached out.
I
Yeah.
reached out. You've been on my. It's so funny because you've been on my list, and then I finally reached out because you think, should I reach out? And but you've been on my list for a long time, and I'm really glad
So
that I reached
glad.
out. So thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom, and I'm looking forward to when your book comes out. I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to when my book comes out, and
Yes.
it's just
Boy.
I'm really gonna do the work and explore how I get that done. Absolutely. So thank you for inspiring me today as well, and inspiring our listeners as well.
Yeah, and I would just want to thank you for doing the work, and for trying to serve us, women, and give us information, and like we should appreciate it. It shouldn't go unthanked. So thank you for
Thank
creating
you.
this platform.
I hope that you've been inspired to shift gears in your own life. You can see how much I love speaking to Michele. She's so inspiring, she's so empowering, and I left with my own powerful insight about I really am going to write my book this year. I'm going to start writing my book this year, at least. I'm going to absolutely start working on that. I love that she is following her purpose and her passion, that she's using the space that the pandemic has provided her to write, to create and plan. And I've got my eyes, watching to see what shows up for Michele in the next few months and years. And so I'm just really appreciated our conversation. I love talking to Michele. Loved it. And it leaves me so inspired, when I get to spend time with women like her. I hope that you have been inspired to shift gears in your own life, and that you really get something from this interview and you apply it to what's happening right now in your own life as you do your own processing in this time. If you are loving the show, if you are enjoying the show, can you rate and review the show on iTunes? It makes a huge difference. I've seen a growth in the show this month, and I want to keep it going and keep growing the show. So please rate and review the show, and also share the show as well. I want to thank people who are giving shout outs for the show and my work on Instagram. I appreciate you, and I see you, and it makes a huge difference to me to know that you're getting so much value from the show, and that you think that other women will do the same. So thank you so much for giving me some shout outs, and I really appreciate the work. Don't forget to head over to Amazon as well.com/ She's Got Drive journals, where you can get my gratitude journal and also the beautiful notebooks as well that are there. They really are beautiful designs with inspiring words by Black women, historical Black figures, and are on there, and there's more to come. So there'll be more on its way. I'm doing some more work there. So please, I think in this moment, spending time thinking about what we're grateful for each and every day is a beautiful practice, and the 30 days of gratitude, making every day count, I'm sure will be a great addition for you. She's Got Drive is produced by Cassandra Voltalina. The music is by the awesome all-female band Blonde. The song is called Circles. Until next time, go well and stay well.